I thought that I would, probably just stick with it for a long time. And at some point I thought, oh, maybe I'll be the next Lisa Rose, But then there was a part of me that thought, I don't know. I don't know if I'd like to be in the building most of the time.
Right.
I liked to get out
The
as a
anchors
reporter.
do not get to go into the field near as much.
Right. And so there was a little part of me that was like, I don't know if that's really what is in it for me. And then I had thoughts of, oh, maybe I'll go into PR. And honestly, I interviewed for a couple different PR jobs. And at the time I left, I had, one like that I was waiting on that I had done an initial interview for. And that kind of like gave me, okay, I've got something potentially lined up. But then that didn't come through, didn't feel right. And this opportunity at Bot Radio felt right. And the one thing that my boss now told me that day on the phone, she said, well, honey, whatever God wants you to do, the door will just swing right open. And it did. So.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of At Home with Emily, a podcast about creating a life you love. I'm your host, Emily Wood, and today we have a very special guest, a dear friend of mine in the house, Linda Simmons, not to be confused with previously known as Linda Russell.
Right.
But you are still saved in my phone as Linda Russell.
I still get that.
All the time.
Yes.
Well, you are a well-known and loved face in this community because you brought the news to us for so many years. I mean, over 10 years, right?
Almost 14.
14 in the same market, in the same newsroom. And for those of you who don't know or don't remember, Linda and I worked together for many years as well. And so it gets in my brain. You're not even just Linda, you were just Linda Russell because I was pitching to you out in the field all the time.
Right.
As that when you were on stories.
Only about the last 3 years I was Linda Simmons after I got remarried.
Yeah, so that was a lot for all of us to relearn, you know.
Yes.
But very happy for you making that transition too. And of course, for those who are wondering, Linda, you are no longer on the news. You're on the other side, like the rest of us. I think most of us veterans are gone. There's a couple left here locally that we see, but not many.
I left the bad news and went to the good news.
So where are you now?
I'm at Bot Radio Network, BOTT, and it's Christian talk radio. Okay. I am not on the radio much. Okay. I might voice a radio spot or an ad, here and there. But I handle the radio marketing. I have clients who are businesses and nonprofits that go on the air, do their little 30-second spots or marketing.
Okay.
I help them with that.
And did you have that lined up when you left news?
I did not. God opened the door, and I just trusted that He would provide, and He did. He came through big time and very quickly.
Works. Well, somebody of your caliber, I mean, none of us would expect you to be around without getting snapped up for very long.
I didn't have to wait. I left on a Friday, and then got multiple offers, thanks to the power of radio, on the following Monday. So it was a local talk radio interview that I did explaining why I left, which was my choice to not take the required shots at the time, but rather I chose to leave. And then I did an interview about that experience, and all the offers came pouring in.
Wow.
One of them was 2 different people reached out to me on Facebook and messaged me that, hey, you need to talk to Bot Radio Network. And I had heard about them through a coworker, Sarah, just a couple of years before, and I had listened some to the Bible teaching and everything. And I was able to send my phone number to one of those ladies that had messaged me just before Facebook shut down for the entire day. It went down for 7 hours that day. Yeah, and so just in time, I was able to send my phone number to one of them. I got a phone call from the station manager, who's now my boss, who explained the opportunity to me. It's something I would have never thought of myself. She told me, I'd be able to go out and visit people, go talk to businesses, nonprofits, churches, about going on the air to get the word out about what they do. And I wouldn't be stuck at a desk all the time. I could
Which you had never done and probably did not want to do.
Right. That's one thing I didn't want to be at a desk full time. I would like to get out and talk to people.
Yes.
So that's one thing I get to do in this job is that I go out and talk to people. I I still get to use my writing skills and that I write their radio scripts. And I still call people like an annoying reporter. You know?
What? We weren't annoying?
Never. They don't call me back as quickly, to get on the news story for the day. I had to adjust to that.
Yeah.
I had to learn patience, that they might take a week to call me back, or they might not call me back at all.
Everything works a little bit slower than
in the business world.
Day of news, right?
Yes.
And those deadlines are not forgiving.
Yes, it's a big change of pace, which I was ready for, a slower pace.
Well, when I came to the station here locally in Springfield, and I moved from Oklahoma City, I knew you. I recognized you because my parents lived in Dixon at the time. That's where I grew up. And so I feel like you started, and I still was visiting home, and you were there probably when I was finishing college. And so to me, you were already a legendary journalist that I knew and loved, and you just have that gift with people. And I think that that's what made you so successful, and that curiosity that you have.
Thank you.
And genuineness. And I feel like, and what I tell journalists up and coming and kids studying is, people sense that authenticity. And you can only hold out so long if you're in it for yourself, because it's really being part of the community and reporting on stories that are important to the community. And you had that. You had that in your heart, and you had that gift.
Thank you.
And I know that's why you did it.
I really enjoyed getting out and meeting the people and appreciated them sharing their stories with me.
And often in very hard times.
Yes, and some of them were the hardest times of their lives, but they were willing to open up to me. And I felt it was so important to share a lot of those stories. Because our viewers in turn would provide the support they needed or pray for them.
Well, they're giving a voice, and otherwise the narrative gets shaped for you, right? And you were allowing them to shape the narrative of their loved ones or their family or whatever may be going on.
Yeah.
Was that hard for you to walk away from? Because that was a calling for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. And I got to do it for 18 years, in Topeka, Kansas, before I came to Springfield. And so, and getting to tell those stories was just an honor. And I was so grateful to meet so many wonderful people and share so many important stories. But I think it was time for me to try something new. Just the constant deadline stress. I think it was just God made a way and opened a new door for me where I now get to literally, with the radio marketing that I sell, help our company grow and bring new stations where there is not Christian radio and spread the gospel. So I'm so grateful that I get to help spread the word of God and spread his love, and that's, that's kind of what we do in news. My favorite stories, when people ask me, what was your favorite story ever? I'm like, well, I can't pick one. Right. But my favorite stories were the ones where the person I was interviewing gave God the glory about what had happened. A tree fell on a house, but the little girl whose bed it landed on wasn't there that night. Or, things like that. And those were the ones that,
you see God
that gave me the chills.
In that line of work.
Yes.
Because of the types of things that you cover.
Right. And so, I was grateful to give him the glory in the stories that I got to cover and share the needs so people could respond. And now, I think at Bot Radio, we're filling a need and drawing people closer to God, which is the ultimate goal of this life.
But when you set out, I think back to myself too. Like after I graduated from Northwestern, I mean, the world was my oyster. I was going to be the next Barbara Walters, whatever, fill in the blank. Like we were going to go to the top. And then life starts to change when you get a family and those priorities start to shift. But what always amazed me about you is you just kept going. I mean, you already had your family. I came here pre-kids, and so didn't have that shift yet. You already had your daughter, and you already had the stress of school drop-off and school pickup and all of her things to try to be at. And the fact that you had made that work. And so really, you had, as hard as it was, you did find your lane, and you made the career work with, your mom responsibilities as well. And so to me, I would call you a lifer. That's what we would call each other in news. Like, they're never going to leave. They're a lifer. I looked at myself as a lifer.
Yeah.
Is that how you looked at yourself for most of the years in it?
I thought that I would, probably just stick with it for a long time. And at some point I thought, oh, maybe I'll be the next Lisa Rose, But then there was a part of me that thought, I don't know. I don't know if I'd like to be in the building most of the time.
Right.
I liked to get out as a reporter.
Do not get to go into the field near as much.
Right. And so there was a little part of me that was like, I don't know if that's really what is in it for me. And then I had thoughts of, oh, maybe I'll go into PR. And honestly, I interviewed for a couple different PR jobs. And at the time I left, I had, one like that I was waiting on that I had done an initial interview for. And that kind of like gave me, okay, I've got something potentially lined up. But then that didn't come through, didn't feel right. And this opportunity at Bot Radio felt right. And the one thing that my boss now told me that day on the phone, she said, well, honey, whatever God wants you to do, the door will just swing right open. And it did. So,
What was the stress like for you as a reporter during COVID? I myself left right prior to COVID, and I had, of course, a newborn baby during that time, and I just thought how stressed that I would feel. Was that a really hard job to have?
I was thankful I still got to get out as a essential worker or whatever we were called, but just it was a lot, just having to...
Just emotionally or what?
Just the isolation, kind of having to work from home and not being able to be in a newsroom with everybody else. So that was different. So that's one thing I missed the most, was just being around people. I still got to do my everyday job and go out and interview people, but it was just I don't have any time to see my coworkers or anything because everybody's separated and working remotely.
So isolating.
So that was probably the hardest part.
And when did you realize that you were going to have to draw an internal boundary regarding the vaccine?
Yeah, pretty much as soon as we heard about the mandate, my husband and I talked about it, and he didn't want me to have to do it. I didn't want to do it, and we pretty much agreed that, okay, I'll just try for this exemption. And then when I didn't get that, pretty much just decided, okay, this is happening. And I had...
Was that scary?
A little bit, yeah. But then I knew that I was kind of ready for a change. So, and thankfully the day that I was leaving, I had peace about it, even though I didn't have a job lined up. And my husband supported me, my husband Phil, and and God provided immediately. Literally got calls that following Monday, and took it.
And that gave you. Did that give you? I mean, you said you left with peace, but did that give you a reassurance?
Yeah.
With the decision that you had made.
I was thankful to be able, and I spoke out about why I left, and then I got to do that interview on a morning radio talk show here in Springfield, and just all the support that I got, that was a big help. And then the offers that started pouring in that day, not just one, but Bot Radio was the one that I felt like God really pointed me to.
So you didn't have to wait long.
I did not have to wait long at all. So he was so good.
Don't you think, for us as women in the workplace, it is hard to set a boundary? So what I'm thinking as you're talking about this, I haven't been through that, but one boundary that I felt very uncomfortable about was running my own live shots, which you did do. Just because, when you're looking into that camera, you see nothing else. So you're kind of putting yourself out there in a big way because of all the craziness that can be happening around you when you're doing a live shot. And that was a boundary that I felt like as a young mom, as a pregnant mom, I had a little one and I was expecting. I was like, I just don't feel comfortable and safe doing that.
Yeah.
But it was very hard for me to speak up for myself in that way. Why do you think it is so hard for us to set those boundaries for ourselves?
Yeah. I think sometimes it's just fear that we're gonna lose the opportunity that we have, because if we decide, oh, I'm not willing to do that. But yeah, and I did those live shots. Thankfully, mine were in daylight. But yeah, the way the industry has changed, it does make that challenging. And then, but this was something I decided for myself. Okay, it's not worth it to me. And so, it was something where I had to make a choice. And, okay, I know there's going to be consequences to that choice, but I know that God can provide. And I felt like that was the right boundary to set for me at that time, yeah.
I think some of us who left before you, which there were a lot of us, were surprised that you were still there because we looked at you as a veteran journalist, like a lot of us, and just how the work culture changes and how the world has changed toward the media is challenging too. But in a lot of ways, you stuck in there a long time.
I stuck with it because I was just waiting for the right opportunity that God wanted me to go to. There had been a couple other times where I thought, oh, maybe now's the time, maybe this is the opportunity. And then it didn't feel right, And there was one other time where I had interviewed for a PR job, and it didn't feel right. And so I told a coworker, like, hey, this is what they're going to ask you in the interview. And that person ended up taking the job.
Taking the position.
It didn't feel right for me. And so,
so waiting, and that waiting time can bring a lot of stress too.
It just news is just stressful. And then being a single mom there for about 5 years. That was, even more stressful. Just juggling everything. But made it through. And now I'm so thankful that my work now is so flexible. I get to work, the Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or actually I don't even go until 8:30 probably. And it's just if I need a day off, I can do it. If I need to go to the dentist, I don't have to.
And to some people, they're like, you're describing a normal job, but it's not that way in news. And so to me, I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
If you needed to go to an appointment, you had to get it in first thing in the morning maybe, and then go get your full, way.
How are you going to get all your
done
stories
still
covered? Yeah. And so it's unforgiving in that way. And so even though you're describing kind of a normal job, I mean, you really never knew that because you had never worked in a different field.
Right.
And so do you miss it?
I miss the people. I miss, getting out and some of I don't miss the heartbreaking stories really. But I miss just getting out there and all my coworkers, of course. I miss some of those things. I don't miss the deadline stress and the constant looking for the next story, because I had to come up with 3 ideas every day, and that was sometimes challenging when there's not a lot of news happening. So
But you feel like you are where you're supposed to be.
Right. Yep. I am where I'm supposed to be until God tells me another direction. So yes.
And you received some internal power from that, setting your boundary and saying no, and then God confirmed that for you.
Right. He did. He made it clear to me. He gave me, confirmation that Bot Radio was where I was supposed to go. And it's been over 3 years now.
Well, for all those who have been wondering what happened to Linda, now they know.
Yes.
I kind of felt that way when I first started this podcast because, you only see so many people now, whether it be at the grocery store and getting gas or whatever, and they'll ask you and you tell them, but a lot of people don't know. Yeah. And so I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I would love to have you back in the near future if you're willing.
Sure.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Emily.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of At Home with Emily. If you are watching us on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe so you're notified when our next episode drops. It's every Wednesday. You can also follow Around the Ozarks on social media on Facebook and Instagram. And be sure to head to AroundTheOzarks.com where you can sign up for our daily newsletter. We'll see you next time.